For 27 years, my daughter, Ellie, never missed a Sunday. Rain or shine, success or setback, she'd call. Even during her travels through grad school, she'd find a Wi-Fi signal and check in. It wasn't about needing anything. It was about connection. That thread we spun from late-night snacks, scraped knees, and long talks over lukewarm tea. Then came Tom. The first Sunday she missed, she texted. The second, she didn't. By the third, I called her and heard Tom in the background say, "Tell him you're busy." I knew then. The silence wasn't accidental. It was directed. If you've ever watched someone you raised become a stranger to please a man, like, share, and subscribe. Because this isn't about heartbreak. It's about remembering who you are when they forget who you were to them. Tom didn't like me. Too opinionated, too old school, too aware of how men like him operate. He wore charm like a suit, but underneath it, he was a crowbar, prying Ellie away from every person who knew her before he did. First it was time, then space, then paperwork. One day she called and said, "We're consolidating assets. Tom's drawing up power of attorney forms just in case something happens." I laughed. "In case what happens, Ellie? A car crash or a character transplant?" She didn't laugh back. That night, I pulled out my safe box, the one she didn't know I kept. Inside were old deeds, business files, and more importantly, a list of every business Tom had his hands in. Because while they were cutting ties with me, I was reconnecting with the version of myself who built his own empire before they'd even met. They forgot I was old, not obsolete. And what I couldn't stop with love, I'd end with leverage. I started with the LLCs Tom had for listed under his name, all registered through a trust in Delaware. Classic trick for men who think smoke and mirrors make them untouchable. He had a real estate flip outfit, a consulting firm with no website, and a third entity that looked suspiciously like a shell. What he didn't know? One of the commercial properties he leased had once belonged to me, before I sold it to a friend for tax reasons. And that friend still owed me a favor. Within 2 weeks, I had copies of Tom's lease agreements, payment records, and more interestingly, his investor prospectus. He was over-leveraged, lying about valuations, promising returns that didn't exist. His entire empire was propped up on 2 things, false optimism and Ellie's inheritance. And I wasn't about to let either hold. Some fathers grieve when their daughters drift away. I went to work. Because love doesn't always come wrapped in comfort. Sometimes it comes armed with evidence. I quietly called an old contact at the IRS. Told him I suspected a fraudulent setup involving fabricated rental income to inflate investor value. Sent a folder anonymously. Just breadcrumbs. The kind that make auditors curious. I didn't tell Ellie. Not yet. She came by the house a week later with Tom in tow, unannounced, fake smiles all around. He called me sir, like he was setting a bear trap with manners. Said they were thinking of repurposing my land out back for a family project. "You mean the land I still own?" I asked. He blinked. By the following Monday, Tom's private office was shuttered. His consulting firm's site went offline. Ellie called me the next evening, voice sharp. "Did you do something?" I played dumb. "Like what?" "Tom's being audited. Our accounts are under review. The house deal is falling through. Everything's off." "Must be a coincidence," I said. "These things happen." She didn't know yet, but she was asking the wrong man for sympathy. Because you can't plead innocence when you've built your future on silence. She showed up on my porch the next morning. Alone this time. Hair undone, sleeves wrinkled. No makeup, no armor. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't gloat. I just looked at her, really looked. "You stopped being my daughter the day you let him silence me." Tears welled in her eyes. She reached for the railing. I thought I was protecting something. "You were," I said. But it wasn't me. It was his illusion. I stepped aside, let her sit. She didn't speak for a while. When she finally did, she said, "He said you hated me." I shook my head. "I didn't destroy him because I hated you. I destroyed him because I still love you." She thought choosing him meant losing me. She never knew I had already chosen, silently, carefully, to remind her who I was before he ever touched our lives. Tom showed up at my door 3 nights later, face red, tie loosened, sweat pooling behind his polished image. He didn't knock. He banged, like a man desperate enough to pretend he still held control. I opened the door slowly. Didn't invite him in. "You think you're clever, old man?" he spat. "You think you can play games with me?" I didn't flinch. "You thought my age made me slow. That was your mistake. I can take you to court." I smiled. "Over what? Your lies or my assets?" He shook, jaw tight with the kind of fury that only comes when a man realizes the power he stole is gone, and the person he underestimated is the one who took it back. Ellie was behind him in the car, watching. He didn't know I saw her. Didn't know she had a bag packed in the back seat. Her eyes met mine, and that's when I knew. She was done. Because when control cracks, the first thing to fall isn't the business. It's the silence around it. She left him that night. She didn't ask for help. She didn't cry. She just knocked once, then stepped inside with nothing but a duffel bag and the look of someone whose illusions had burned away. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I didn't expect you to," I said. "But now you do, and that changes everything." We didn't speak about Tom again. 2 weeks later, he filed for bankruptcy. His investors sued. His reputation vanished in forums, filings, and one very public investigation. Ellie stayed, not as a child, but as someone who understood now what I protected and what I had to destroy so she could see it. Some daughters return with scars. Some fathers wait with open doors and quiet consequences. She made tea that morning. Not perfect. Too much sugar, not enough steep. But she brought it to me on the porch like she used to when she was 13, before boys and ambition and men like Tom. She sat quietly, eyes on the horizon. "Do you hate me?" she asked. "No," I said, "but I did mourn you. I buried the girl I raised a long time ago." She nodded. She understood. Ellie started rebuilding after that. Not from my money, I didn't offer. From herself. She got a job at a nonprofit, moved into a small apartment downtown, and stopped trying to outrun her name. She didn't ask about the businesses I used to own. The ones Tom tried to claim through her. I sold them. Every one. Donated most of the profit. Kept just enough for a quiet life and a sharper pen. She did, one night, ask about the file I gave to the IRS. "How'd you find all that?" "I listened," I said. "Even when you stopped talking to me, I still listened. And I never stopped watching." She looked down, nodded. "You were right." I shook my head. "I didn't want to be. I just wanted you to see him the way I always did." Sometimes being right as a parent feels like failure. But survival doesn't always come with celebration. It comes with scars and silence. I updated my will soon after. Didn't erase her, but didn't reward her either. I left her enough, not everything. The rest went to charities for daughters without fathers and fathers abandoned by love. Because legacy isn't about forgiveness. It's about memory. Thank you for staying through this journey. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories where betrayal doesn't break us. It reminds us who we are and who we once raised.